Alright, so this video is going to be a quick guide to setting up a satellite remote Unmanic installation on a Windows PC that we can then send tasks to for remote processing and have the completed task sent back to your main installation of Unmanic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on this. This is my Windows gaming computer. It has a 1080 Ti in it, and I want to use the NVIDIA graphics card to do some transcoding. And here, this web browser is showing my Unmanic installation on Unraid, and that's pointing at all my TV shows. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I've got all the workers, I've got 0 workers set up, so I'm going to have all of the jobs being sent to the remote installation, which is not yet set up as well, so we will do that as part of this video. I'm going to run it using the new release candidate Windows installation, so I'm not going to go through and use WSL, although that is a completely perfectly good means of installing Unmanic on a Windows PC is through WSL. It works awesome, but I've just recently added an installer, and I kind of want to test it out and get it working. I'm just going to go through and do this. I haven't actually tested to see whether this will work. In fact, let's go and make this a completely fresh install by deleting the my current test setup. Goodbye test setup. Hopefully there was nothing important there. Alright. So like I say, I've already got this set up. If we have a look quickly at the settings, I've got just a single library set up here. 0 workers. I've got my plugins installed already. Let's get rid of that. And we will do this as a fresh install for everything. What's noteworthy in here, we've got, this is my plugin stack. It's all configured, plugin flow is configured. So this all works. If I was to enable workers on here, it would be away laughing. For my main installation, I have the library scanner enabled, and before doing this, I've already run it through a library scan, so we've already preloaded our pending tasks. What else? That's about it. Right, so if you go to the Discord server, there's this Windows channel at the moment, and I've just been posting the release candidates as I build them. These aren't signed installers or anything like that, so if you have an issue with that, then maybe don't follow this, but I'm sure eventually I will sign these installations and host them on the website rather than in Discord, but for now, this is how it is. So they're hosted on Google Drive. We'll just go here and we'll download it. Download it anyway. Save. Boom. Extract it. That's the one I want. Yep. And then, so this is what I'm talking about. It's not signed. It's fine. It's just a package of Python 3 with the Unmanic codebase in it, along with all the other dependencies. So I'm going to install it just for me. Don't need these anymore. Don't need these anymore. Cool. Finish. Sweet. So now that that's installed, we will have Unmanic in your start menu, and all this does is runs Unmanic in the background. You'll see it here, and the only option is in the tray icon is to exit. If we wanted to see some logs, if there was any issues with it, under app data roaming, there's this log file here, which has nothing in it because it's not logging anything, unless there's an error. There's no errors, so it's starting, it's running. And then if we just jump back to here, this directory that I had deleted before has now been recreated, and this log file will have the actual application logs in it, so if you ever need to have a look at those as well, this is where it exists. So that's under your username.unmanic logs, and everything else will get installed here. The plugins and everything will get installed here. The config exists here. Right, so if we come to here, this is the fresh installation now, running on localhost port 8888. That's a good point. Oops. Never mind. Cool, so if we go to settings, you see that it's created a default library with a randomly generated name. It's blank, got nothing in it, and it's pointing to my documents by default. That's the default path for Windows, installing Unmanic on Windows. There's nothing to this. Everything's just defaults. No plugins installed, nothing set up in the link. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come along here and I'm going to refresh the plugin repository. Then I'm going to go to the link tab. I'm not going to install any plugins, don't have to. We'll show you how to do that in a second. So I'm going to go to the link tab and I'm going to name this, what was it before? It was something like Windows PC or something. If we click submit. Cool. My IP address of this computer. Oops, what am I doing? CMD, isn't it? IP config is .20. So what we're going to do is come along to here and re-add the thing. It's 192.168.1.20 port 8888, and it should add it. Cool, it's found Windows PC, and you can see the version. Obviously this one's a slightly different version. I'm not sure if that's newer or older, but it's close enough. So long as they're both on 020 or the same version, you shouldn't have any compatibility issues with linking. Anyway, so then I'm going to configure. So on the, just to be clear, I'm doing this configuration on the main installation. I've added the remote install. I'm not doing this on the remote installation. I'm configuring the remote installations on the main installation by putting in the IP address and port, and then I'm going to click configure and I'm going to click send tasks to this installation. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to disable preloading tasks. I'm just going to leave that off, and you just click that and it'll save it. That's it. So now if we come back to here and I just refresh this page, we should see this remote installation, and it's got the right name. As you can see here, I've named my Unread main installation as the Vault main, and over here you can see that's got the right name. Now these question marks, the reason why there's question marks and this is grayed out is because it's not doing any communicating two-way. So the main installation is sending all data to this one, and this one's just receiving API calls. It's not actually sending anything back. If we wanted two-way communication, we can do that. We can just configure this, add the address in there, and it will start communicating two ways, but we don't need to do that for what we're trying to achieve with this at all. So just keep it simple. That's all you need. So if it's grayed out, that's perfectly fine. So long as this one's blue, this icon here is blue, and we've got an IP address, then we are linked. We are good to go. And so long as this here is checked. Now preloading, I'll just quickly touch on that. Preloading means that when we're sending tasks over to the remote installation, it's going to send over as many tasks as there are idle available workers, and if you've got preloading enabled, it will also send over additional tasks for each of those workers. So if you've got 3 remote idle workers, you'll end up with 6 tasks getting sent over. So 1 for each idle worker, and then another 1 for each one of those idle workers will be preloaded into the pending task queue of the remote installation. That means that, especially if you've got smaller files, it just keeps the thing ticking along a little bit smoother. If you've got bigger files, it doesn't make as big a difference, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to leave it off. And that's important because if you don't have idle workers, so if your remote workers are paused, or if you don't have any, if you've set your remote workers to 0, then no tasks are going to be sent over. So just be aware of that. In order for this to work, we need at least one worker on our remote machine. So this Windows computer, we're going to need at least one idle worker like this here. Right, so we've got our link now and we've got our workers ready. The last piece of the puzzle is we want our library to be configured. Now this one here, like I said, it doesn't have any plugins. All we did was we refreshed the repository. We didn't actually do any installing or configuring, and we're going to do that all on the library. And in this, we've got this default library, and it's got nothing installed on it. I highly recommend don't use your default library. Keep that for linking purposes. Don't use your default library. The reason why I have randomly generated library names is because the library names matter. So keep your library names for local processing only. Keep your default library for local processing only. And when you're doing remote installations, do a brand new library like this. So the path does not matter. So this is on the remote one of this Windows machine. I'm going to just use the default path, and we've just got this new library with a randomly generated code afterwards. Each library name has to be unique, so you can't have two libraries with the same name in here. And if I was to try and be sneaky and add that there, you'll see can't do that. I can delete this one. And also, you cannot delete the default library, as you can see. Can't delete the default library as much as I try. So anyway, just create a new library, leave it as the default path, because with the remote linking, the path does not matter. We're not even going to use it, okay? So click configure, and then go to your main installation and select configure on the library that you actually want to be using to send files over, and click this button here, export config. Select all of this. At the time of me recording this video, I've got a bug at the moment where the copy button isn't actually working, so sorry about that. I'll fix that at some point soon. Anyway, so I've copied this JSON and come back to this Windows PC's local, what we're calling the remote installation, and click on the import config and paste that JSON into here. We don't have to, but it's better to do it here. If we just delete this and like these 3 lines, because we don't want actually to import that change, and then just make sure this is invalid JSON at the moment because of this comma. Just make sure the comma is removed. So now for the library config, the only thing we're actually configuring is the name, and then you click submit, and what it does is it will install all the plugins that you need. It'll configure them, and it will configure the plugin flow so that it matches exactly what we've got here. So I was saying before, don't worry about actually installing plugins. As you can see, it's installed all the same plugins. It's set up the plugin flow so that it's the exact same. And at this point in time, your library is good to go. So look, see, the Vault TV shows, the name of the library matches what we've got here. At this point in time, the only other thing that you may wish to do is, say for example, I'm using this NVEC encoder, and I do actually want to use this, but what about if maybe you didn't? Maybe you wanted to you still use HEVEC encoding, but you wanted to, for your remote machine, instead of using the NVEC encoder, you might use the VAPI encoder. So here you go. You might install that, and then replace this one with VAPI, and then obviously modify this. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm going to stick with the NVEC encoder on this with my my graphics card. I'll just switch that back to how it was. And before I've even managed to finish all of this setup, it's already receiving a file. So I've just, by modifying the thing, it's automatically paused this. It wasn't paused before. If I just resume that worker, it pauses the workers if you modify the settings. If I was to come in here and do something, the settings, sorry, if I modify the settings, so before when I deleted the thing, so if I delete that, you see that it's Unmanic has stopped all the workers, and we come here and it's stopped it again. Pauses all the workers until you're ready to say that how you've got your library configured is correct. It's how you actually want it, so it prevents you from having your files start processing before you're finished actually setting up your configuring your libraries. Anyway, so if we re-add that again, here we go back to the main screen, resume that. Sweet. So by now we should have a task popping through. And we're not preloading, which means until this job is done, it's not going to be receiving anymore. Now, if I, in fact, if I just open a new tab so I don't have to keep bouncing between those. So I'm not touching, at the moment I'm still working on this Windows installation. If I go to the workers and I make that 2, you'll see that it'll start receiving, and within about 10 seconds, it's polling every couple of seconds, so it'll eventually, this unread install will see that there's now a new idle worker available, and it will start sending over some more files. We should be able to also see this in the logging. Oh, there's some errors. Oh, okay, there's some errors. Good. We should be able to see it in both the logs of the remote and the main installation. We should see it saying that it's sending some files over. It's uploading a new file now. Yeah, there we go. I wonder why it's done that. I possibly should have imported that config again after I stuffed around with it. I might have removed the envic. I'll just do that. I might have removed the envic encoder settings, which I probably do want. Okay. And that is possibly everything that's required. I will show one other thing actually. I will show what happens if I start preloading jobs as well. We should see a lot more of the tasks. Here we go. It's going to move a lot faster now. I think you're going to end up sending about 6 of them over, because it's quite slow otherwise. We should see a constant stream, and there might be issues with this. Hey, please just ignore the issues. I think there's something wrong with the way that I've got that plugin configured. Anyway, that's that. Sweet. I hope this helps everyone. See ya.